Welcome to this week's episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network, presented by the CVC Success Group. And today it'll be myself, it'll be Josh, and it'll be Cheryl. Will be on. Brandy has had an engagement she's having to take care of, so she won't be joining us today. We'll certainly miss her because she always comes in with stacks of notes and gets mad afterwards because we don't let her ask all the questions she wants to ask of every guest. But hey, that's the way it'll go. And Josh doesn't have Brandy pumping him with questions this week. He's got to come up with his own line here. So
She's never given me questions.
she keeps saying, "Hey, I can give them to Josh." That's it. That's her mind and her discussions. Okay. So anyway, I want to welcome you to today's episode. What we're going to be talking about is the state of recruiting in 2023. Because to be honest with you, in my coaching practice, this is a major discussion with so many people. I've had several calls today with clients about this particular issue. So we have on here our in-house expert on hiring and recruiting, Cheryl Eisenhower. So we're kind of going to let her give us what she feels like is today's situation in the world of recruiting and hiring people. So Cheryl, let's start this off. What are you seeing out here on a daily basis? Because this is an area that you deal with a lot of clients where you assist them in their recruiting and their hiring. So what are you seeing happening out here? What are the studies saying that we need to be aware of?
Okay, as you realize, most of my clients are in the blue collar industry. And the problem right now, and it just came down from Sherm this morning on their newsletter, that the Generation Z are all wanting to look for white collar jobs, which is nothing what we're dealing with here. They're not looking for the technical jobs like we're supporting. So I think that's a huge part of the issue right now is the fact that they weren't brought into it in school. They don't look towards technical. They were always pushed into college. So until the curve changes, I think the white collar is going to have the advantage. But also, it's regional at this point. It also depends. Okay, like my clients in Texas, it's 112 degrees. Nobody wants to hire on right now. We're getting some. We're putting them there, but they're Texas local people, and I know Josh sees it too. He's in a blue collar industry. He sees what's out there. Looking for CSRs or customer service representatives. I find, in fact, I got 178 for one client yesterday in the CSR,
Wow.
but only two for technicians. So that's kind of the swing of where things are at right now. Again, if you're in a rural area, you don't have as big of a, as Jerry calls it, a pond, to fish from. So they don't get as many as the big towns. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah. So Josh, you live in an area that I would call white collar because you got so many government workers. You have people that work at the Navy base there and all that. So, is this a big challenge in the DC market area, which you're on the outskirts of the District of Columbia? What are you seeing up in your market area right now?
Well, it's a huge challenge. Um, just like Cheryl said, applicants trickle in for the service tech positions. But if I were to post an office position, they're going to come flooding in. So that's a real problem. And then to elaborate on the curve is, I'm starting to get pretty old, but I can use the word score in the number of years it's been since I was in school. But I was of one of those first generations where they drilled into your head, like, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you're not going to be anything. And, I took that to heart. College, and I did go to college. I don't think it would have benefited me as much as had I entered the service or done something else because, as we talked in one of the podcasts, like going to college didn't teach me how to run a business. Um, Most of what I learned from running a business, I learned in accounting 201 and 202. I don't remember the other stuff from my management classes or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, we've had some past guests on here, and we'll talk about a few of them that are rather successful in hiring. And one of them is Tommy Mello. So I sent Tommy a text. I said, Tommy, we're getting ready to do a broadcast tomorrow on the hiring and recruiting situation of 2023. And do you have anything you would like to add into this? And Tommy sent me a 90-second message via text, and I'm going to play that right now so you can hear what Tommy Mello's input is on this.
I would just say something like this, Jerry. There's ebbs and flows. A lot of people are searching for leads right now. If you stack the deck with A-plus players and you're always hiring and always looking to top grade and move people around in different departments, you'll win. I don't care if you got a CRM, if you're KPI focused, if you got all A-plus players working in sales, dispatch, training, double down on, you won't lose. You don't need much if everybody's pulling their weight in their performance pay. And in this day and age, you cannot run a business without performance pay. You need to have people running in the same direction. Unless you're an authoritarian that's slapping the whip, making hourly people work harder, you're not going to make the money and you're not going to have the alignment you need. As well as, all I would point out is you need benefits. You need PTO, 401k. Hopefully you have an equity incentive program in place. And, the new age of worker, they want to work for something more than a business, somebody that has goals to help out communities and is involved with families and wants you as an employee to buy homes, and they're really focusing on how you can win. And I would say double down on social media and those magic moments with your employees and make sure everybody's posting often and incentivize them. That's my 2 cents.
So anyway, that's what Tommy Mello said when I asked him for his input. So Cheryl, as you listen to what Tommy recorded yesterday, what's your thoughts on what he said?
I agree with him. The good thing about Tommy, he's hiring from multi-state. So he has different locations. He's hiring rural, he's hiring city, he's hiring all the way around, which makes it good. But he's following the right ideas. And all companies can't afford all of what he's saying right now, but that's the direction they need to work towards. I mean, people are looking for different things. I made a little quick list here, and if it's okay, it won't take but a second to read, but it'll give you an idea of what people are looking for.
Sure, go ahead.
They say that 64% of people are looking for a significant increase in income or benefits. 61% is looking for greater work-life balance and better personal well-being. 58% is ability to do what they do best. And I'm going to reiterate that a lot of times we try to put the person into the wrong seat and it's not what they enjoy. So they're not going to perform at their best. And I know these don't add up to 100. They were different questions that were asked. And the fourth one is greater stability and job security. That's 53% of people went with that. And they like a diverse and inclusive of all type of people. 42% thought that was important. And they have a real good bottom line. And I think we all need to remember this and kind of live by it. Is your organization selling what employees want to buy?
Okay, got you. So anyway, as you know, one of the things is, and we've interviewed Tommy. If you go back in our past library, you'll find this. But Tommy recently released this book, but the title was Elevate, and it's Build a Business Where Everybody Wins. But the thing I heard Tommy say in that was that you got to show people that you're interested in them. You got to build up the hopes of people to help them get to their dream. In fact, one of the things is that a lot of people are looking at dream coaching and dream managers to help their people get there. For some reason, people feel like owning a home today is an impossible task, but it's not impossible. You just got to bear down and make it happen. So, Josh, let me ask you a question. One of the guys that we interviewed on here sometime in the past was our friend Anthony Valerio up in Rochester at Four Winds Chimney. What did Anthony share with you? Because Anthony's been fairly successful in hiring. What did he say in his interview that you think stuck out to you?
Well, obviously he always invests in his people. but B, from it's strictly social media. He's not doing Indeed or anything like that. So he's got referrals from inside, and then he is very active with social media in the recruiting of people.
Yeah. And I think that's what you got to do in this day and time. And that's one of the reasons why I think social media is definitely a way to get the word out. And also, this is the next one. You know, a lot of people don't even understand a lot of the occupations in home service, such as the area we come from, which is chimney sweeps. It's really amazing. And I was in a hotel just a week ago, and I was getting ready to check in, and I had a conversation with somebody, and it was like, you know, I was asking this person, hey, what you doing in town and what am I doing? She wanted to know what I did. And I told her. And I said, I primarily work with chimney sweeps. And her answer is, chimney sweep? What is a chimney sweep? And that's what we got to remember. We have to come up with marketing terms that people are familiar with. What are they looking for? Cheryl, you just came through some excellent ones. Paid time off, health benefits, all of these things. You've got to come out of your comfort zone and offer these things. And the thing is, it may affect your numbers, and you've got to reflect this into the price. There is a lot. I mean, let's face it, it wasn't that many years ago that we could hire people in the home services for 10, 12, 13 bucks an hour. Cheryl, is that feasible in this day and time?
Not at all. I mean, even what we would have considered top pay back then is the beginning pay starting now. I mean, 17, 18 in most regions is the bottom pay.
Okay.
And that hurt, you know, people, yeah, I'm saying that's the bottom pay, and that's for the lower, you know, just at entry level. And as you know, people, you just got through saying it. Most people don't know what a chimney sweep is anyway. And so the thing about it, definitely these people coming in as apprentices, they don't have a clue what they're getting. So again, if you're advertising, you need to advertise an idea of what's going on, because you don't want to get somebody in there and then have this glazed over thing of, you mean I have to get on roofs? I have to work outside? I have that question. I hit it on interviews a lot of times. Do you mean because we say chimneys, and for some reason people only think of chimneys working interiorly. And when you tell them, you know, you've got to work from outside too, they didn't understand that. So you need to be aware in certain, if you're, and I'm not just talking about chimney sweeps, but if you work outside, you need to let people know this within something, so they're not just totally blindsided. I mean, I'm sure Josh has got there before, and they looked at him and asked him to go up a ladder, and they looked at you like you were losing the last sale that you had.
Yeah.
So
So, Josh,
that's one of the nails we drive in during the interview process of, will you get on the ladder? You know, are you afraid of heights or anything like that? Is it going to keep you from, you know, doing your job? So that's always a big part of the interview process. And then now I have one more thing. A good friend of mine, Chuck Hall, he says, I'm not in the chimney business. He told me once he owns a specialty construction business specializing in all aspects of fireplace and fireplace repair.
okay.
Fireplace building and fireplace repair. That was probably the best, you know, way of saying it if you're going to track from all trades, because some of the best people I've had are automotive people, electricians, carpenters, over the years, all from outside the trades.
Yeah. So, Cheryl, one of the things is, and I think you see this, that somebody actually has a goal of hiring people that are already trained in the industry. Does that work out for people? Do they find people that are already had the training and can step right in and run a lead truck and be a lead person on a truck right off the bat?
Well, two things. If they've already had the training, why are they not working where they were at?
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one thing. But for me personally, I'd rather see somebody brought in with a good work ethics, with a little bit of common sense, what it takes to do the job. They need to have a little bit of hands-on training, but I'd rather train them from the beginning, because then you can train them under the style that you're used to instead of having to retrain.
Yeah. Cheryl, if somebody has worked for 3, 4, 5 different chimney sweeping companies and they were applying to you, what would be your thoughts of that person that's had 3 to 5 jobs in this industry at this point? Would that be a recommendation or what?
I would not forward it on. And the reason being because if they've gone to that many people, either the people didn't like them, they weren't any good, or they're just not stable at what they're wanting to do.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of failures of people hiring experienced people. One of the things I've often said is it's easier to train someone than it is to retrain them because of the habits they've already developed. They're really, really tough to break those habits. So, Josh, what else would you offer today on this subject of recruiting and hiring? Anything?
Well, it's to always have ads out. Indeed, we just got a few good ones finally. It's been a while. It's interesting how these things, they come in waves. You get no applicants or really bad applicants for a long time. And then you get all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap, I got 6 really good leads over the weekend, which just happened to us. We've been chumming those waters for a while, then like no good leads, no good leads. And there's also other places that advertise other than just Indeed's. One thing we've had really good success with is the local papers. Believe it or not, their online editions, putting stuff in there, because that's a lot of times I look on there what's available in the community, job wise. There's either 2 types of jobs here: engineer for the government or entry level low pay jobs, and there's nothing really in between. We've had that discussion with my leads. It's kind of like, okay, it's time to unfortunately adjust the wage scale. I say unfortunately, to look at it. Cheryl's saying 17, 18. Well, that's what Wawa's paying here in Chick-fil-A. And you're not going to have to endanger your life. You're not going to come home stinky and sweaty. You're not going to be on a roof melting into a puddle. And that's here locally. And that's, hell, my first job out of college was $24,000 a year. That's nothing. I was hard. I was like, I get like $500 every 2 weeks after pay. And that was with my degree.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, Cheryl, what are you seeing as some of the best lead sources people can use to market for new recruits?
Number one, their employees first and most. If they've got a good employee, usually they've got good friends. That's the number one. Facebook is right there. Any of the socials, Facebook, Instagram. When I say Facebook, it's anything, because with that you're hitting your local people. You're going to them instead of where on. Now I do Indeed and ZipRecruiter, all the above, but the thing about it is they've got to come to you. Basically, you can hunt out to a point, but you can't hunt everybody looking for a job. I found out that coming from Facebook and things like that, Instagram, whatever, a lot of times a parent has seen an ad, or a sister or someone else, and they'll contact someone looking for a job to have them contact in. So put everything in your bucket. Always keep a for hiring sign out, and always keep hiring. The main thing you don't want to do is when you think you're loaded with people, everybody shuts their ads down, they shut their Facebook down, and 1 week later, inevitably 1 or 2 people leave the company, and there you call having to start all over again. So my suggestion is keeping the ads open, because you never know when that golden nugget's going to hit, and you can actually, if necessary, replace one of the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, well, that's one of Tommy's things, that you hire A-grade players and you replace the B and the C players, and by having this open. What about Applicant Pro? That's a company we have interviewed on here before, Cheryl, that does organic posting for you on numerous job boards. Are they still producing?
They're still producing. That's where the almost 200 came in the other day. The good thing about them, and yes, there's usually 2 or 3 main ones that come in, but they're posting on 20 boards. And that, that's showing it in 20 different locations instead of just the one that, if you're doing just Indeed, pops in on. Like this week, a lot of them came in on ZipRecruiter. Don't normally get them that way. It just depends what people are looking at that particular week. And all the platforms change up. People get tired of Indeed, they move to ZipRecruiter, then they move to the next one. And so I like them because they've got one set fee and you can put all the ads on there that you want to. I've got one company with 15 ads on the same thing. Their price is the same thing every month. And that's what works well. You don't have this little bit of dollars here and this little bit of dollars there. But yes, they've been out of producing. They're doing much better than the clients of mine that have chosen just to do, say, Indeed.
Got you covered. Okay. So, Josh, anything else you would add into today's broadcast? Any words of advice?
No, just like always be hiring. Even Brandy will tell you if she was staffed up, she found someone so good. She's like, I don't care, Jeremy. Hire him. Yes, we already filled the position, but make something happen for this person. And I think that's what you got to be is, be prepared to, if you have the berm in their budget to be a little overstaffed, do it. They'll grow into their position.
Yeah, that's it. Cheryl, any last words from you on this? And also, let's mention this. If hiring is a challenge for you, Cheryl's email address is there on the screen. Reach out to her. She'd be glad to have a conversation, and maybe she can give you some helpful tips on how to help in your hiring process. But Cheryl, anything else you would add?
The main thing is just do your due diligence. Don't just take a breathing body unless that's a breathing body with some things. But set your interviews up and make sure that these are people that fit into your culture. We have found out that that's become extremely important. It's not just hiring the redneck out of the field, for lack of a better word. I live in the South, so that's kind of why I use that analogy.
I feel targeted.
You are right up beside your head. But just be sure they're going to fit with your other people, because all you need to do is add one more bad apple into the bucket.
Yeah, that's it. So anyway, you have to stay on it. You can't give up. Listen to what Tommy said, what Cheryl's saying, what Josh is saying. You got to continue to recruit. You're always in the mannerism of recruiting. You may find that perfect person. You may find that person to replace a bad apple on your staff. A lot of people are hanging on to people. They're scared to terminate their grade C players, and they're putting up with crap because of it. So you got to develop your marketing plan to go after. And you got to remember, you're competing with every other business in America because everybody is looking for people. That is what's so depressing. I mean, I go and I see somebody make a post on Nextdoor. Hey, I'm looking for a job. Does anybody know? It's like, get a life. There are so many jobs out there. It's unreal that somebody would sit there and actually not even know how to apply for a job any longer.
Do you even really want that person?
Yeah, who wants that person? So, let us know. We're CVC Success Group. We're here to help you. Reach out to Cheryl if hiring is a challenge. And with that, we appreciate you joining this week on this week's episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. And we'll see you next week on our next broadcast out here. And we do appreciate you being a part of this day. Hey, I see we had 2 comments. Let me bring them up here. Okay, so our buddy Chuck Roydhouse added here. Recruit on features and benefits of job security and professional certification. You can't be replaced with AI and no college debt. That's good. And then Cody, hey, all right, Jerry, let's do this. Appreciate that, Cody. Appreciate you being here with us today. So anyway, appreciate everybody joining us. Look for us next week, 12 noon Eastern time on Fridays. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Have a fantastic